Hello guys, finally coming with the video that was asked to me a couple of times, which is monthly expenses. I'm going to break it down into different categories, and today, as you see by the title below, it's going to be about rent. So I'm going to break that into two parts. The further so I'm sorry, I'm going to break it into two parts, so South Barrie and North Barrie. Some people would hear East Barrie, especially when you're close to college, but to make it simple and the easiest way to put it, North and South Barrie. So what is North and what is South? So North Barrie, which is everything which is close to college, to Georgian college, and South Barrie, for me, I counted like anything which is an hour long from college is South Barrie. So you will have Brine and Mapleview. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but when you come to Canada or Georgian College, when you'll hear about Mapleview and Brine, you'll know this is South Barrie. And if you're close to college and you have to take the bus, and it's like an hour long, you'll know like you're going into South Barrie. So now why is it important in regards to rent? So because you're in South Barrie, which is further to college and further to downtown, the rent is cheaper. And the closer you are to college, the rent is more expensive because you are close to college, you're close to amenities, you're close to downtown. And downtown is where all the activity happens. A concert, you have like offices, okay? And now when you think about rent, there's different types of rent. So you have heard of on and off campus. So I have a video about on and off campus. You can go and check that video. To make things simple for you, I'm going to put a link down below so you can check that out after you've done with this one. In this one, I'm just going to talk about sharing, single, and family. I'm going to explain why family. So if you're coming on a budget like I did, you would want to come on sharing. Especially, I know people who come from India like to be in community. They are less, not just people from everywhere. I guess this is something very common for everyone. But there's lots of Indian and they're very into community. They're very into like living together and all these things. So if you're from India and you come in Canada, for sure you'll have Punjab and Gujarat, and you will easily find someone to share a room with. So I came in, I was alone. I didn't know that many Mauritian, but yeah. And you come on a budget. I was coming on a budget as well. So the cheapest rent that you could have, if I could put it like that, would be sharing. So it can be sharing for two, it can be sharing for free. And sharing is like 2 or 3 people in one room. Okay? After sharing, you have single room or just use an apartment. So from an apartment is just you. So you're renting a room and then you share the common areas such as the bathroom, the kitchen, and the living room. So for a sharing, you can think from 325. I know there's one which is closest to college, which is London Property. It's like close to a plaza. A plaza is where you have like shops and when you can have tea, things to eat, like lots of stuff like that. Close to bus stop and 5 minutes walk to college. I'm not a super fan of London because when I came there, I was living with people who are not very clean. I remember when I first came, but it depends on with who you live with. But it wasn't very clean, and the smell itself, I didn't like it. But from what I noticed, the cheapest one for 325, you can have a shared room with someone, and electricity, water, laundry is included in that, and heat as well is included in that. So you can get a sharing from 325, which is the cheapest, to it can go up. And for a single room, the cheapest one would be counted from 550. You can go on residence on Georgian Green, I know for summer it was 400 for a single room, but it might have changed and went up to 575 now. It's now, but the cheapest one would be 550, and it can goes on. Now, bear in mind, whenever you see the price matches the environment. So if something is cheap, there might be something fishy. It's true that I was lucky to have cheap rent, but I was able to negotiate, and I know some people, so I'll give you tips that you need to look for. So whenever you go and look for a room, there's three things I always look at. It's the room. If I'm living with someone, look at the room, especially for girls. We lose lots of hair. So is there lots of hair everywhere? Do they actually put that in the bin? Or there's stuff everywhere? Is it lots of dirty clothes? The kitchen. Do they leave their pots in the sink? Does it smell? And then the bathroom as well, because if for me the bathroom needs to be cleaned at least once a week. So if you see there's like hair or things like that, man, it might be because they don't clean it as often as it should be. And question that you should ask as well, because I learned that from experience. I got a cheap rent, but laundry was not included. So ask if electricity, gas. When I think gas, I think of heat. So electricity, water, heat, and laundry. And ask if it's pet friendly. Some are, some are not. And if you're allowed to have guests or if you're allowed to smoke. Some allows you to have smoking areas. Some ask you to not smoke at all. Some ask you to smoke outside. And some allow you to have overnight guests, some allow you just to have guests but not to sleep overnight. And the last thing, I mentioned family. So there are times where students kind of struggle. They can live with a family and it's way cheaper. So the family cook and you live with them. It can be cheaper or more expensive. Sometimes it's more expensive because they cook for you. But if you want to have like to know a little bit of Canada and integrate more in the community, you might want to go with a family. Sometimes family volunteer, people are really nice here. They volunteer to like for cheap rent or just for a couple of weeks to help a student with the rent. And I mentioned old people. So this is when you live with an old people for free. Well, not for free, in exchange of work. So you remind them of the medicine. Sometimes you have to bathe them. Sometimes you have to cook for them. And so you take care, basically you take care of them. And in exchange, you have free rent. So these are the tips I have for you if you want to come to Canada and go for renting. And you might have to look at from 325 for sharing and 550 for a single room. Don't worry about that if you'll be able to pay. If you ever have a part-time job with minimum wage, which is $14 per hour, and if you're not, if you're a frugal person, you will be able to afford that. True, you might not be able to go out all the time and spend money all the time, but it will be enough for you to be able to pay your rent and live. So my next video is going to be part 2 of part-time jobs. And from that, if you have any suggestion, you can always reach out to me and leave a comment down below. I always respond to all the comments and it makes me very happy. See you next time.